Hello and welcome back to the Underground Podcast. I'm Ollie.
I'm Harvey.
And I'm Emily.
And this is our 5th episode.
Yeah.
Boom, boom,
So,
boom.
To kick things off.
Let's talk about the most important news today. The front man of the Prodigy.
Keith
I
Flint.
can't say it, but the Prodigy is dead. Which is sad, sad news. It was announced this morning.
An absolute icon amongst us all,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Can't say I was the biggest fan of their music, but they were
I
legendary
was.
in what they did.
Yeah,
You can't fault them.
They're big in like dance music, like.
Well, Ollie took my icon amongst us all. I want that copyrighted on my intellectual property. But yes, it's a sad day. Sad day for music.
Yeah.
Weren't they meant to be headlining a few festivals as well this summer?
It could have been.
Maybe. I don't know. They did a lot last summer, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm thinking of Primal Scream for some reason.
They were still quite young. They were still doing
He was 49,
stuff.
He was
yeah.
49. Yeah, they still
they
tour
weren't
and stuff.
exactly old. so-
I like their recent music they were releasing as well.
Yeah.
It's a bit different, but it's a sad day for music, everyone.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So that's like the big news today.
That's the bad news they've been done with.
Yeah.
Yes, what's everyone been listening to?
Well, me and Harvey both listened to Solange's album.
I listened to that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both listened to that together, and I haven't heard the whole album, but I do rate what I've heard a lot.
Yeah.
It's a... how do I feel? It's a classic Solange album for me, where I think there are some absolute moments of just...
Moments.
literally moments of moments, and like
Yeah.
her are some of the best for me. But then I can find sometimes, like with her music, like I massive respect to her, but I can always find it a little bit one beat, or I can get a little bit bored throughout. This album kind of did the same again. There's moments of it though that are absolutely incredible for me though.
Can't say I've ever listened to any of like her music really. So
I
like
haven't.
listening to this album from start to
Yeah.
finish was like a big thing for me. And you're right, I did have moments, but there was moments where I sort of zoned out of listening to it.
And that's what I mean. That's how I felt as well. And that's how I normally feel with her albums.
Yeah,
I haven't
so-
heard every one, but I've heard most of them.
Yeah.
And listen, the topic she discusses in like how she makes music, I think she's so good. Like,
yeah, she has a good like stance on things.
yeah, I look at her as like the more experimental Beyonce. That's because they are sisters. But yeah, no, I thought it was a good album. It's actually probably my favourite of hers so far. So
Yeah.
it was great. And if to people who haven't heard it, listen to Bins. It's my absolute everything.
Okay.
Everything.
Everything.
What did I listen to this week? A queen of mine, her name, I can never say her last name correctly, I'm quite bad with surnames, but her name's Snow Allegra. But she released an album called Feels, I think, like about a year or 2 years ago, and she just came back with a song called I Want You Around, and it's what I wanted it to be and more. So I'm really excited for her sophomore album to come. And I think she's a force to be reckoned with in R&B in the future. But yeah, if you
Really?
haven't heard her, check her out. As I said, the song called I Want You Around.
Nice. Yeah. So I listened to this female singer called Georgia. She hasn't got a last name or anything. It's just Georgia. And this her single called Started Out. It's actually quite big. Like it's been played on Radio 1 and all that jazz. But I hadn't actually really listened to it properly. But it's actually so good. Like I really like it. It's got a Christine and the Queens like kind of vibe with like
Nice.
a little bit of LaRue. Like that sort of female power.
What a
type
throwback
thing.
to LaRue.
I actually listened to that earlier as well.
Do you know her mum was in the bill?
Really?
Yeah. It's a random fact I know of like random singers. We lived, and her real name is Ellie, like my sisters, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, iconic. I
Yeah.
used to be obsessed with trying to do that hair look. You know, like her huge, like those mohawk things, like all
Yeah.
those weird alternative things she did with her hair. I was so obsessed. And one time, no joke, I went into school. It was in like year 8 or year 9 when it was like in for the kill and bulletproof time.
Yeah.
And I tried to do it with like VO5's like clay. When I say to you, it just all fell right down. It just like I had really greasy, horrible hair.
Lovely.
Classic.
Lovely little fact.
A horrible time to be alive. Never look at your alternative pop stars as icons,
Yeah.
hair icons.
Yeah. So that's what I was listening to. And I
But nice.
listened,
I haven't heard it.
and we were talking about the Gigs album last week, and I listened to a little bit of that. I think my favourite song's Baby. I think that's his like single from it as well. So I would recommend that. But the rest of the album, it's all right.
What's everyone saying about Lil Kana's song with Georgia Smith? Anyone heard it?
Oh, I love it.
Oh, I just stand both artists, to be honest with you. Great
Yeah.
for UK music at the moment.
I do like it, but I think
I didn't expect him more. I'm not going to dispute that. No.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I
look, for
kind of
me,
get
Lil
that.
Kana, I used to love him when he. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
He was like our first year.
He literally
Literally.
was, but now I think his songs are getting a bit samey.
I
Not
agree, but
samey,
his
but, like-
flow's undeniable though. I love that flow.
He is really good.
You can't deny though, they're two like big forces in like UK music
Oh
right
no,
now.
yeah,
Like
it's a big.
it was a big
collab.
collab, yeah.
I
As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, it's gonna be beautiful.
I feel like I know your vibe with it though. And I feel like it's similar to mine because I'm there a bit like your first album is so good,
Yeah.
and I found it so amazing. And if people who are listening to this haven't heard, it's Yesterday's Gone with Lord Connor. It's absolutely wonderful, and I think I expected because I had such high ratings for him. Same as when Reggie Snow does more. I have a high level for him now of what I want to do, and I think it's very good what he's delivering, Lord Connor, but. I think I do expect a little bit more because it's just. I think it's on the same level.
Know what I expect.
But no, I do think it's all good, and I love the song with Georgia. I didn't know. I just thought I expected something a bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe if you
No,
added
that's
Tom
fair
Misch on there, I would be like, okay. I don't know.
enough. Yeah.
I'm weird. But yeah, Little Sims released. She released.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she released her album. I haven't listened to all of it. I listened to most of it. I'm the same with her. I'm always a hit and miss with her, but I think she has qualities of greatness, and I
Her
love her
recent single, is it Selfish? I was obsessed with that. I listened to it on repeat throughout 3 days and then realised I was probably going to bore myself with it. But yeah, I loved that. I thought it was like, because I can't say I was always her big fan, but
Yeah.
that made a little change.
Yeah, the girl who's featured on it is called Cleo Soul.
Yeah.
I rate Cleo Soul a lot.
Oh,
she did the
okay.
colours. That's how I found out she did the colours a year or two ago. And it was really, really
okay.
good. But she's got there's a song on there, you'd actually like it, called Boss, on Little Sims' album.
Yeah.
Which I thought was quite good. But 101 FM, still my everything. I'm still popping my pussy to it. You know
Yeah.
me.
That's the best song.
Yeah. And guys, I've got quite a few.
You've had a big old week.
I haven't had a big week.
Yeah, I can't say there was like loads, but
Do you know what?
bits and bobs.
Yeah, I just found loads of random mini songs. I haven't gone through that many albums yet, but like, for fuck's sake. But I went. Do you know what? I was like half asleep about 7 in the morning, and I had just like one of my playlists on. I was literally living for everything, so it was like download. But yeah, I thought it was a great week. Great week.
That's good.
And we are loving music so far, I guess, this year. How are we all feeling towards music so far this year? We're in March now.
Oh. We had this question on week 1.
I think it's blown me away, but I think it's been pretty good so far.
I feel like I found a few gems.
But I know that obviously, as the months go on, there's going to be some big albums.
I'm waiting for an album to really grab me, you know,
Ooh.
like completely take me there.
I've just remembered as well something else that was released on Thursday, I think it was, Octavian and Skepta's collab.
Right, okay, okay. So,
Yeah.
I actually didn't rate Skepta's verse on it.
No, it wasn't
I
there.
expected so much better, but it was really short, this verse.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was, like, that great.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
But me and Charles both said the same, like, because like, I saw it and I was like, oh my god, he's going to do a remix. And then I was disappointed.
But yeah.
What about Octavian, though?
I
I
thought
love
it was
Octavian.
good. Yeah.
Stan,
I
great album.
Stan Octavian, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Skepta could have been better on that track, I think. It just,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just something about it. He's done better.
What do you think of the Shy Effects on Cara Delevingne?
Weird.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I didn't like that.
They're bringing out some good old random names in that little mix,
I'm
aren't
very
they?
excited for that album, actually.
Sorry, but the Shy FX and Lily Allen thing,
Yeah.
I loved that.
Do you
I
know
can't
what,
say they're really my thing, but that song I loved.
Yeah.
You know what? Before I even heard the song, I imagined what she would be like on like that kind of like D&B. Like,
Lily
Yeah.
Allen over
Production.
liquid D&B is...
do you know, I just think
actually
even
great.
until I saw it there, like written down, I thought, oh my god, this could be absolute. I immediately became so
Yeah,
excited.
I knew.
thought,
She had
your
that,
voice would
like-
work so well, yeah.
Yeah, she had that right, like her personality as well, like really fitted
Just
with the
that
track.
kind of flow.
It just, yeah, it
I
was
want to see
good.
Lily Allen MC.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit random, but yeah.
I'd live. Oh, she's a good
Yeah.
old South London girl.
I reckon that'll be a good album, though, Shy FX.
Yeah.
When's
I'm
that?
looking forward to that. I'm not sure. It's out soon.
Yeah, I
There's
feel like it's
like
late
there's like
March.
three
Don't
there's
know.
like 3 songs released off it already, I think.
Yeah.
That
That's
Cara
usually
Delevingne
South
That's
one.
on Maverick Sabre. So today on our show, we are interviewing 2 of the Dead Freights, who are a local rock and roll. I wouldn't say they're indie rock and roll band,
Yeah.
but
They're a bit old school, I'd say. Like old school, like rock and roll.
But that's a very funny one. So stay tuned.
And support and show love.
Correct.
Enjoy, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Welcome back to episode 5 of the Underground Podcast. Today we have 2 of the Dead Freights.
Hey.
Hello. Introduce yourselves to our audience.
This is Louis, who plays the drums and has a beard.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. And this, over to my right, is Charlie James, who has no beard and he plays the guitar and sings very well.
Lovely.
And a bit of piano, but I keep that. Keep
Yeah,
that to myself.
Doesn't do that now. But he's,
Right.
he's pretty hot on the old Joanna. give him a Joanna and a couple of beers, he won't shut up. But.
So can you tell us a little bit about the band? How did you get together?
We got together. So there's normally 4 of us, and there's another singer, Franklin,
Of
Rob
course.
Rob Franklin, who's just become an uncle, hence his absence.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
and
lovely.
congratulations to his sister.
But yeah, so me and Franklin, new Uncle Franklin, met in school when we were like maybe 12 or 13, and then we sort of started playing music together, and then we met Louis
Yes.
because you did a thing. Why don't you're better at this one?
Well, they met me because I used to come to this university about 10 years ago, or maybe more.
What did you study?
12. I did popular music and record production. It's not that all the bands that were around when I was at uni were rubbish. Can we swear on this podcast?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. It's not that they were shit. It was that, yeah, they were shit. And so I asked my lecturer if there was any good local bands that he could turn me on to and I could record for one of my projects. And he said, I know a band. It's actually my friend's son's band. They're only 13 or 14, but they're very, very good indeed. And I went, okay, 13 or 14, right, brilliant.
You can work with that.
I can work with that. Yeah, I've got my DBS check.
And your D&E.
Yeah. I know about Arts Award and GCSEs and stuff.
You're no stranger to a swimming gala.
It's true. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. Where's Louis? Oh, he's just doing a cycling proficiency test. He's not doing it. He gives the test. So yeah, and then it was Dear Charlie, his band. They were called Get Dexter, and lo and behold, they were like 13 or 14 when I met
about
you.
13 when we met.
And I think they used to skive off PE and other subjects just to come in and record with
we've all
me.
been there.
When
You
when we
know.
were like quite young, and then Brother Dwight here sort of like took me under his wing and that, so I'd be sort of like 14, but I'd go to like his house parties at like Newcombe Road and sort of stay up, and we'd do a bit of this and that.
In hindsight, right, that sounds dodgy. It wasn't dodgy.
Sounds like grooming, to be honest.
Yeah,
mate.
I didn't groom him. Just on record,
Yeah,
I did
it's-
not.
it's
I didn't
recorded
groom
forever.
him.
If there's a headline,
He
for
groomed
this-
me, if anything.
If there's a headline for this, can it be
Yeah.
Louis didn't groom?
Yeah.
Charlie?
How did you meet? Right. Okay. All they did was ask us how we met, and now we're sort of backtracking.
Saying that you didn't groom me.
Yeah. We dug our own grave here, didn't we? Really? You didn't ask about
And then,
grooming.
so that's how me and Frank met Louis here, and then Spencer, who he hasn't become an uncle today. He just couldn't be bothered, could he?
Just can be bothered to show
Couldn't be
up.
bothered. It's nice.
He's a lazy
but-
prick.
He's a lazy prick. But he's and then we just found him in a pub. Actually, he was playing guitar for someone,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Hey, kiddo, you got potential. I can see your name in lights." And just sort of took him.
How would you describe your sound, your style, to people who haven't heard of you before?
Rock and bloody roll.
Rock and blood. It sort of
Well-
sounds like a fucking octopus.
Right.
It's kind of it's what I know. Yeah, it's kind of like rock and it kind of harbours the values of rock and roll.
Yeah.
But it's not kind of like.
I'll tell you what. Bands always get really awkward when you ask about what their sound is, because
Yeah.
every band thinks that their sound's so unique that it doesn't have a description.
Yeah.
But it is obviously it draws upon things that we love.
Which is?
60s rock and roll, but
Okay.
with a kind of with a modern flavour to it.
It's a bit more kind of minor key. It's a bit more like you said like the other day, like the sort of songs in my writing sort of sounds like a detective. It's all kind of minor and sort of walky.
Yeah, you know those sort of like old detective like soundtracks and stuff when someone's creeping about. It sort of sounds a bit
It's
like
kinda
that
creepy.
with a heavy rhythm section and some sort of nice melodic harmonies that sort of paint over the top.
Beatlesy kind of harms.
Sort of like if you mix the Beatles with Queens of the Stone Age with a sort of detective show from the 70s.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Right, okay, let's talk about your gig at the Joiners. So, first of all, how did it go?
It was bloody marvellous, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All our friends came
Yeah.
in their pants.
Oh.
No, they came and they enjoyed. They enjoyed it.
It was a night for this feeling. It's like a promotion.
You guys aware of this feeling?
this feeling.
Yeah. This. Do you know the promotions company?
No.
It's more kind of prominent kind of up north, I think. But there's
Right.
like they do some bits down here, and they work like with they just work with bands. They kind of send bands up and down the country, and they've got stages at like festivals and stuff. They're
Isle
good.
of Wight Festival. They have a big sort of presence at.
Yeah, and like Why Not, and like Truck, and like
Yeah.
Reading, and it's just they're good guys to get in with, really.
Yeah, and they've got some like good support from people that are already at the top of their game.
Yeah.
I think on their posters there's a big quote from Noel Gallagher saying that this feeling are the next stage for emerging rock and roll artists and stuff. But so yeah, we were eager to impress a little bit with that, and so we sold a lot of tickets.
How did you guys just like individually go about promoting it? Because I know you were going around doing discounted prices for like.
Yeah,
Do you know, a small number for friends and stuff.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the first thing that we did was that we did a little competition win, just to basically gain traffic to our social media stuff.
So we did a vote. Who's the sexiest?
Yeah.
Who won?
Spencer, the one that we're slagging off.
we did it, but it was who's the sexiest Mark II, because we did it before.
Yeah, and he won by a fucking landslide as well.
No, I won that time. I won the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, what did I or not?
Recount.
Right, have you got right. Get Facebook up now. Look at the post. Get the past post.
It's from about 2 years ago.
I won the first one.
But what does that say now then? That means because you came third this time round, so I don't know. Have you let yourself go? Or? But yeah, it was really good. He had a great response. Spencer did win by a landslide.
Yeah, he did.
I came second, but I think I was cheating a little bit because.
So obviously it's sold out. Do you usually get that sort of response to your gigs, or do you think you've seen like a progression in people coming to your gigs? Or has it always been like you've had quite a big following?
I don't know.
Not always, but like recently.
Yeah, it's kind of touch and go, really, isn't it? Because obviously we've been a band for like 3 years now, so obviously we've played our fair share of sort of meat raffles and like coconut shies and sort of village fates and stuff like that, But then it's not. I think it's not the first time.
Coconut shy.
It's not the first.
It's true.
time,
We have played some gigs where there has been a coconut shy.
And like a bouncy castle and stuff.
There was one time we did a gig. There was a stage that was like a bouncy castle, and it sort of deflated while we were playing and sort of crushed us.
That was for Buckler.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
The story goes right. You know, have you ever heard of a man called Rick Buckler?
No.
Nor did we.
Yeah, nor did we until he approached us and goes, "By the way, I'm Rick Buckler. Ever heard of me?" No. Turns out he was the drummer for the Jam.
Really?
Yeah, back in the 80s. But yeah, he was the drummer for the Jam, and we thought, brilliant, maybe through him we can get a bit of
getting with him
of Weller action.
We didn't like hassle him, but obviously there's the guy from the Jam, and like obviously we're quite you're a massive Weller fan. Aren't you?
Yeah, I love Weller.
The main reason to sort of get in with him, thought we'd get a few shows out of him maybe, because he was putting on gigs. Obviously, primarily we want to meet Weller and sort of hang out with Weller, obviously the main one.
Yeah.
And I was kind of really rooting for meeting.
Yeah, the main mod,
the king of the mods. I was really rooting for meeting Weller, and I got a text like from my mother at one point saying, "Oh, your man that you've been putting you on gigs at Rick Buckler." She meant Mick Hucknall. Rick Buckler's on the telly, like he's on BBC One. He's on like a breakfast show, and I was like, sweet. So I like tuned in, and they were like talking. It was like, oh yeah, it's the guy. And then they said, so Paul Weller, like, do you ever like hang out with him and stuff? And I kind of had my fingers crossed. And he went, I haven't spoken to Paul Weller since 1986. It's like
brilliant.
It's like before, about 18 years before I was even born. I was just, all right, brilliant. Like, that's gonna be good then.
But he came up.
And then I was kind of like, I was texting him to like get us on gigs, and he just wasn't replying. And I think I sent him quite like, not a rude one, but quite would say like, look, can you get us on the show? You've booked us before, all has gone well. And he sort of said, all right, yeah, there's this little private party for you guys to play, and it was like, it wasn't Kent, where was it? It was like
can't remember. It's something like Cotswolds or
something like that.
Somewhere in the middle of nowhere. But we thought, oh, brilliant! It's sort of out there. It's a sort of posh area.
The guy from the Jam's private party.
Yeah, there's going to be platters of drugs and women and
sort of monkey butlers, and we thought maybe Weller might be there.
There's probably going to be a hot tub, I reckon.
Yeah, or at least a couple of figs and some beers, Yeah. And we got there, and it was.
Well, I think I remember Charlie's exact words when we actually pulled up in the driveway of it, and just oversaw the site of where this function was on, and Charlie goes,
Well, I think I said something along the lines of, "Is this a fucking joke?" Because it was literally, there was like a coconut shy, bouncy castle. It was just his mate's party, like just some woman. Like, she was nice and that. We kind of thought it might be like a bit more, a bit more of a soiree. A bit less of little. I think we were like second to last on, and the guy that headline was like a Frank Sinatra tribute that signed to a backing track. And that's who we were supporting.
That's who we were supporting. Yeah. So to answer your question, we've come a long way since then.
You definitely have.
Do you think it's difficult for emerging artists to secure gigs locally? Like, have you ever struggled to get gigs?
Probably not. Normally locally, that's kind of where you start out, really.
I guess, yeah.
We've never really struggled that much.
Obviously, I mean, like if we emailed like the Libertines and said, "Can we support you?" Like the answer it would be either a no reply or a no.
Yeah.
Like it's not like we could just sort of, but like in regards to sort of like Southampton, we can kind of
I suppose if you
do what we want.
Yeah, we fucking run this town. I suppose that's it. You sort of play within your weight category, don't you?
But in terms of gigs further afield, that's harder. But how would you go about getting those gigs? So like London.
Well, we play in London a fair bit now, but that's because we've got ties with. Well, it's not just because we were playing in London before, but more recently we've got ties with MI7, which are a small indie label, which you're probably going to come on to in a minute.
To that. Yeah.
And they've sort of helped a little bit, and again with like we said before, that This Feeling stuff.
Yeah,
they put on a lot of shows in London.
Sometimes they're real good, and like people like venues will get people from out of town, like purely for the reason that they're out of town. They want like some new blood, and then other venues will be like, "Oh, come and play our venue. It's in London." And then everyone that's not from London goes, "Oh, brilliant, we have to do it." And they go, "And if you don't sell 50 tickets, then we'll fine you." And you're like, "Well, well I'm not from there, so how am I supposed to?" It's kind of
we're not from London.
You can get the odd cowboy, can't you? Really, rogue traders.
Yeah.
So that's through promoters that happens.
Sorry.
So that's like through promoters when you're at gigs and stuff. They basically say to you like that.
Yeah, well, they'll say like they'll like sell you, they'll like give you tickets to sell, or like they'll like charge you for tickets. So I know like some they'll do it. They'll say like they'll make you buy the tickets off them, and then you have to sell those tickets. So you're like it's like pay to play. So like you're out of pocket. We've never done that. Like we've kind of refused. Like most bands do. Just like as soon as they see that, they just go, "We're not doing that."
Yeah.
But it does happen.
Yeah.
Pay to play. Sorry.
Have you ever been like offered that as like your kind of like agreement, like what kind of like the negotiation of how you'll play a gig and you've missed out on a good gig because of it?
Yeah, no, I don't know. Normally it's like a chain email you'll get. There'll be some proper cowboy company that will send you in like 500 bands, and they'll say, "Hey, come and support Paloma Faith's DJ set at the Lexington."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Sweet, let's do that." And they're like, "Yeah, well that'll be £500, please." And you're like, "Well, I'm not going to do that just for."
Yeah.
Well, apparently Paloma Faith's DJ set. I don't know where that came from.
I was thinking in my head, where the fuck are you going with this?
Might be alright if you're listening, Paloma. I'm sure they're great sets. Not a great set.
Social media is obviously a great platform nowadays for bands to get themselves out there. Do you think you utilise social media to obviously gain exposure and get fans?
It's like it's a useful tool, isn't it?
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Louis the social media man.
Guilty.
You run all the freight stuff, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's like really time consuming, absorbing, isn't it?
It's quite addictive, isn't it? Because it's sort of like a game.
Yeah.
It's like a game that you need to sort of complete, but you never complete.
Yeah.
And so you're sort of doing all these levels and getting all the numbers, and it's just a numbers game essentially. And I've sort of had chats with people that are much better than that sort of thing than I am, and they've sort of given me little tips on how to sort of increase your.
Do you have like a
Instagram
formula? So
following.
do you have like not like a set time every week when you do a post, but is it like?
No.
There's better times to do it. Like we'll get
obviously when you've got something coming up, you'll.
You know, when you look at the stats and stuff, you can see when the most engagement is, and the most people engage in our posts at 6 in the evening till 9 in the evening, and that's probably the same with everyone when they finish work, isn't it? But it's sort of like, all right, put it up around then, and then you might get more. You don't want to be a slave to it though.
Yeah, there's also the problem that you don't want to overload. You don't want to overload fans of just like
just
constant stuff.
Constant
Yeah.
pointless drivel of just
Yeah.
nothingness.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
you're normally really good with all that, aren't you?
Cheers, buddy. We're too nice to each other. Should we start slagging each other off again? I think what's difficult about the social media stuff, specifically, when I've been doing a lot more of it, is to try and come across as authentic and authentically us.
Yeah.
And I remember Charlie and I were getting fucked up with some girl that we didn't know in London. Do you remember? You and I.
Where are you going with this?
Yeah, right. No, we met her on the tube, and we were going back to our friend's house. And she was like, "Can I tag along with you guys? You guys are like really fun. Just wanna." And we were like, "Yeah, come down, you know." But she had a really good point, and she looked at our social media. This was about a year or so ago. She looked at our social media and she went, "Well, knowing you guys, you're really funny and charismatic and you're nice people to hang out with and that. And but looking at the social media, you kind of look quite serious, and it doesn't really. Your personalities aren't coming across." I was like, what do you suggest we do? She was like, you should do more Instagram stories of just you guys hanging out, more videos of you guys hanging out. I was like, well, that's a good idea. Sort of did it, and it sort of done quite well. People sort of respond to it, when we just be ourselves.
I guess
but
it's
quite
keeping
hard.
the balance, I guess, between like serious stuff.
Because you don't want to make it look like you take yourselves too seriously.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you don't want it to make it look like it's just a fucking
Just a
joke.
piss take, because we practice really hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
work
it
really
seems.
hard at it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's finding that balance and just sort of being authentic is quite difficult.
Yeah. So you released Reasons and Walls last year.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about the songwriting process of that song?
It's quite an old. It's like quite an older one. Probably the oldest one now.
In our set, yeah.
Yeah, we weren't initially gonna. I think we were gonna not like axe it. We just weren't gonna do it. And then we were.
Charlie, you wrote that about 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. didn't you?
Yeah. It was a while ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think if you hear kind of what we're doing now, that song, I think it sounds just a bit more infantile than the other ones still. But I think it's nice to have, I suppose, in terms of like releasing, it's nice to have like a bit of, that it's like this song in your set is like the first one to be released, and it's kind of work your way up from there, I suppose, or like just continue.
See, that kind of surprises me because not many artists who even I love do that a lot, because obviously as you kind of get used to the kind of processes of songwriting and recording and making music, you gradually get better as time goes by. To hear that from you guys, like the first song, to make it, and I like the kind of like not the integrity, I can't forget I'm getting my words.
Just the
the
sort of
sentiment behind it.
Yeah, and to kind of do things kind of consecutively.
I think that's really cool.
But because we weren't initially going. When we played it, we had a thing in Bush Studios, Shepherd's Bush.
Nice, I know studios.
Yeah.
Your favourite place? Favourite part of London.
Where our manager took us to play in front of a couple of guys that were going to record the songs. A fella called Jags Kuna, who's really good producer. Does like.
I think he's done a lecture here, actually, isn't he?
Yeah, he comes and does a few. So he's done like Oasis and like Primal Scream and stuff. And
nice.
but I think he does like DJ and like mixes. He's got like a stage at like Glastonbury.
Jags is Acid Lounge.
Jags is Acid Lounge. Yeah,
Yeah, that's his thing. Yeah.
He's like, I mean, he's a great guy. He's like a mad professor. Like he's mental. Isn't he?
Yeah, he's really cool.
It was him and a fella called Peter Robertson who does goes by the name of Sunan now. Sunan, he does he's like a producer, but he was the drummer for the Vaccines in like the first and the second albums. And I think he did quite a lot of the production and stuff as well. So we got taken to go play for those guys and to see which songs they wanted to record, and we weren't going to play them Reasons and Walls because we'd written other stuff since then, and our manager was really like, "Oh no, you've got to play it, like they'll love it." And I was sort of like, we'd written other stuff since then. I kind of really didn't, not like I was against it, but we had like 5 tunes to play them.
Yeah.
And Dan, our manager, Danagement, was like, he was really adamant that we played it.
I hope you're a king of puns, by the way.
Well, no, I mean,
Charlie's sort of a Radio 4
Radio 4 panel
show kind of guy. I'm more slapstick, which doesn't really come across on the podcast, especially when you're not filming it.
But yeah, still no, we weren't going to play that. And then Dan said, "Oh no, you should do it." And then we played that, and that was the one that that was the one they liked the most, really, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah.
We ended up recording that.
Oh, so you base it more on reception?
Yeah, well, pretty much. I think.
Nice.
I've heard other people say that they loved that one.
They like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes kind of the audience's word of mouth is your most reliable.
Yeah, exactly.
So nice. I read that.
But yeah, it was good. And we had fun recording it. We recorded it. Our friends play in a band, Echo Tape, they're a really good band. And they got a studio in Middle Wallop.
Probably my favourite Wallop.
Yeah. We went and recorded the drums and the bass with them And then me and Franklin went to record at Jags' studio in
Shepherd's Bush.
Up in Shepherd's Bush again.
Yeah.
Which was good, yeah. Toddler T was next door at the time.
Who's Toddler T?
Well, if that means anything to anyone, which
Yeah.
apparently not to you. So that's what normally I leave.
Sounds sort of like he might be reggae.
What, like a child doing reggae?
Yeah, Toddler T. Yeah.
Okay, so you're signed to MI7 Records. How did that come about?
That came about through, well, it's actually through a friend of ours, another local singer-songwriter, James Baxter, who's really good.
Yeah.
He's very
Isn't he?
good.
He's
You-
like
you
a-
know him.
It's
Yeah.
a sort of,
Yeah.
he's like a kind of sad. The songs are sad. He's actually really happy and a great guy.
Yeah,
Oh, we
yeah.
love
Which
it.
makes
We
me
love
laugh.
depressing
You know.
music.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, happy people, depressing music.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so yeah, he got Dan. He's like Dan, who's our manager. Dan's is like a childhood sort of friend of the not childhood, but like college. I don't know,
Yeah.
like family friend. And then I was playing guitar for Baxter, and then he said, "Oh, like Dan's like managing me now and stuff, and this and that." And then
Yeah.
James got him along to come and see the Freights
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
At the Brook.
Yeah, and he liked. I don't think he did like what he saw.
Well,
he
he-
wasn't into it, and then his dad said,
his dad-
you've got to do it."
Exactly. Yeah. His dad, Ray Mills, he's been in the music industry for a long time and worked for a lot of bands.
Yeah, because Dan came to see us at the Brook and thought we didn't have the songs or something.
Yeah.
but
Well, yeah, that was it. I think Dan Edgman approached it with a sense of cynicism
Yeah.
from the start, thinking I think he came in thinking I do not want to manage an indie band
because he's played
because
in
he's
tons
played
of
in
them.
indie bands, and and it's quite difficult to break it as an indie band. Easier to break it in other genres and stuff.
Yeah.
But then his dad said to him after, "If you don't sign these guys, you're an idiot," which is
Pretty
nice of
nice.
him.
So yeah.
And it's quite a good story when you hear that for the first time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned obviously having ties in London's helped you get gigs outside of Southampton.
Yeah.
Did you notice any other changes when you got signed?
Well, it's still sort of early days actually.
Yeah.
When did you get signed?
Well,
We're sort of in the process of it at the moment.
Oh, okay.
We've been working with the team for quite a long time,
a couple of years now.
couple of years,
And
but
we've-
we are it's becoming official
Yeah.
this week.
Right,
Actually,
okay.
Can we
we're
just-
in the throes of it. Go on.
Sorry, can we just elaborate on that though? So when you said like you've been working on it for a while, I feel like that's something a lot of people aren't going to really be aware of. So what has kind of been like the process for you guys whilst they've literally said like we want to sign you to this moment today?
Well, I mean, I think so. They when they decided they wanted to work with us, then me and Franklin would meet up with Dan and talk through songs and sort of set lists. And he didn't become like involved in the writing process, but he'd like come to band practices and he'd do a bit more kind of arranging with us and kind of say like, maybe like get to the chorus quicker or cut that mid late in half.
Yeah.
Just little things.
Kind of
but,
give you like song structure a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, like we really trust him as a man and just as a musician as well,
Yeah.
because he's been like in some really good bands, really successful bands and stuff.
And in the time that we've been working with them, they've given us a fair bit of support and just sort of guidance, not in a kind of fascist way, but just guidelines really, and
Yeah.
sort
Yeah.
of quite helpful advice.
and they got
And
us
there's a guy called Callum, who is part of it, who's the social media guy who's been really helping me out with the social media stuff and sort of how to approach it and stuff.
and they got us. We were in Abbey Road for a weekend.
They got
as
us
well.
into Abbey Road, which we recorded in and all of that.
How was that? That's so sick.
That
Was
was-
really
that was
sick.
mental,
That was
wasn't
great.
it?
We'll come to that in a sec. But it's I think it's almost though the kind of couple of years that we've been working with them, it's been partly them kind of developing us to the point where we're sort of ready to make this leap and sign a contract. We probably weren't. Actually, we definitely weren't ready 2 years ago.
No.
Now we've doubled our pool in locally. We've got a small pool, but we can nearly fill a room in London. And now we're at a point where it's like we need to take this a step further.
Yeah.
Whereas before he probably saw the potential,
Yeah.
but thought might not be quite ready for, I don't know, a 5-year commitment sort of thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever get annoyed though, like in the process of that, like in this long time of like you waiting, like was there ever a point where you didn't really understand like why is this not just happening now, or did you
Yeah.
realise they were kind of developing you as artists?
We're quite impatient, really. I think me and you more than the other two, just because I think our dad's left and we've got a natural sort of dopamine deficency.
Yeah,
I mean, we're
yeah.
patient when it
I
comes
mean,
to...
we're the ones here because we're the ones that are happy to shout our mouths off and talk about ourselves like two arrogant little twats.
I think we did get impatient. Me and Louis, I think the most patient you'll find us is when we're waiting for the first half pint of a Guinness to settle.
I am done.
Stick a fork in me.
Before they do the rest, isn't it? That's when we're like, no, it's fine. We'll wait. Happy to wait.
So do you want to talk about how we first fell in love with Guinness, or do you want to move on?
Okay. But no, we do get impatient. And at times it could get a bit like frustrating with things, because I find like a lot of the time, especially with recording, you go and because we record. It's mainly like live, isn't it? When we did the Abbey Road stuff, it was all live, and you kind of feel like you're there for like a couple of days, and you kind of do something, and then you kind of expect to have it like the next day.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be like sent to someone and then mixed and then sent back to the label and then sent to and fro and then mastered.
Revisions and then
they're
sent to us and we've got to go. Oh,
process could take like months, and you sort of think, yeah, but I played that about 6 months ago.
Yeah,
like just on a guitar in a
We've
room.
done
Like, where is it? Like we've done our bit, but then it's like I suppose that's the first kind of time we had to do all that sort of thing. So it's kind of learning the process, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. And as well, had us as we've not been officially signed on paper, I think the urgency is probably not as much.
Yeah, on their side.
But it was so amazing recording at Abbey Road, and we recorded with an absolute hero of a man, John Barrett, who's one of the. I think he's one of the few in-house engineers and producers there.
Yeah.
I don't really know the ins and outs of his job description too much, but I don't think they have. I don't think they have very many full-time members of staff that are recording engineers and producers. Well, he's a producer, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because I'd imagine lots of bands bring their own production team and just sort of hire out the studio. But he's there. He's working very, very long days and nights all the time. And I just sat down with him and sort of like a little kind of excited child and was like, what's Elton John like in real life? And he said he's got quite a big head. And I went, what, metaphorically? And he went, no, physically, his head is big. And I went, is that all you've got to say on the matter? And he said, no, he's brilliant. He was amazing. And I was like, well, who's the worst person you've ever recorded and all this? I was just asking loads of questions. It was probably really annoying.
Did he say who the worst person was?
I've heard some ghost stories about.
He did. What's his name? The guy that did
Really?
version.
Yeah.
He said by far actually that was the worst person he'd ever. Really? I'm not trying to slag him off. He's not going to listen to this anyway.
Yeah. Again, if you are listening, Barrett loves you.
Yeah, fucking hell. He did say that was not an exciting time for him. I think there's a lot of faffing about, he said. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is that we were in Abbey Road Studios and we were recording, and John Barrett really put the time in before recording us to figure out exactly what was the best way to record us. And his diagnosis, which we totally were on board for, was basically record it completely live. The only thing that wasn't completely live is probably about 50% of the vocals.
Wow, that's quite impressive.
Yeah. So it was in Studio 2 where the Beatles recorded Abbey Road.
Beatles recorded everything in Studio 2.
Did they?
Yeah.
They
And
recorded
I hope
everything.
you did the Abbey Road picture, you four outside.
We didn't know, because
Because
the tourists do that, and we were like, we said we're not going to do that specifically because we're not tourists, we're professionals here.
But it's still a really fucking cool picture.
It's a good picture, yeah. But but it was amazing. They sort of sectioned off the main live room into little booths using the room dividers, and we'd be in there, and we just recorded it all pretty much live. And then the next day we came in and did some vocals.
There was no click track either, or anything, was there?
Really?
It was just us as it was.
Which at the moment, because you guys haven't heard it yet, because we haven't released any of it yet, so it could sound shit.
Yeah, right.
We've heard it. It doesn't. It sounds all right.
Did you feel like you were under pressure to play better because you were in Abbey Road? Or
Oh,
was it
yeah,
just sort of
Definitely,
like
yeah.
Absolutely.
Obviously, because we practice normally like twice a week anyway, but I think before then we kind of were the few nights before and like all the whole lead up to it, because we did 4 tunes in there, so it was nice to have like because we'd like discussed what songs to do, played them to the label, and it had all been decided like you're going to do these 4, so we kind of knew exactly what we had to go and do.
Yeah.
So we just.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. John Barrett, who recorded us, he took the time and effort to come down to Southampton about 3 times prior to recording us.
Yeah.
we practice in you know where Hoglands Park
Yeah,
is?
no, I
Yeah,
came.
the
I came.
little
Yeah,
room.
I call that the little gorilla studio because
little-
it's very outside trying to see the gorillas.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it looks like gorillas. Yeah, it's the little hut in the park.
the
Because
pissy park.
I work for a music organisation in town that's a community music thing called SoCo Music Project, and I run workshops in there with different groups of people, young people, and I work with New Road and the Society of St James, which is a charity for homelessness and drug addiction and recovery and
That's
stuff.
amazing. That's so sick.
Which is why I have access to that, and it also doubles up as from that. Thank you. Doubles up from that as Dead Freight's HQ. And John Barrett came in.
Got him in there from Abbey Road.
He got in there from Abbey Road. Literally
from the
fresh from a
Hogwarts
fucking
Park.
recording with, I don't know, some major superstar.
To
Like,
come
recent-
to
like he-
Hoglands Park.
I was like, oh, John, when are we getting our mix back? And he's like, well, at the moment, I'm mixing the soundtrack for the new Star Wars film. So
Really?
when I'm done with that, I'll do you. And we were like, okay, yeah, we'll take your time, mate.
Yeah. But that
Sounds like a big job.
But it's been a while, isn't it? I mean, he started doing that a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. You heard it here first, kids.
Online platforms like SoundCloud and Bandcamp have basically meant that it's easier for bands to take a DIY approach in like releasing their music and stuff. How come you decided that you wanted to sign with a label?
Well, I think it's to get you to that. We only decided to sign to a label when we thought that we couldn't make it any further on our own.
Yeah,
basically,
It is
because
difficult,
we have
isn't it?
done that. We did do it DIY for 3 years,
Yeah.
and then decide,
Yeah, it's
actually,
kind of about
if someone's coming at you at a
Exactly,
gig
yeah,
and goes,
yeah.
basically, we've got a bit of a plan for the future. We can really help you in these areas and places that you might not need, and we can, help you with a budget for that and do all of that. You're not really going to say no.
Yeah,
No.
exactly.
yeah,
No.
yeah, pretty much.
But it's about finding the right time to actually do that.
Mm.
Do you reckon as well it's like the right person? Like you've got to find the right person you want to work with because it's
Yeah.
a big thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it was because it's the main. Obviously, it was Danagement that sort of because it's the label that he works for. But I think it was like mainly like his kind of personality kind of sold us, really, didn't it?
Yeah.
He's just a bit of a legend.
Yeah. He's
Like,
one
just-
of us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
he's
What's your
one of the
relationship
team.
like with your manager?
It's really good.
Really
yeah,
good.
yeah, it's really good. Yeah. He's helped me out in personal situations as well as professional ones.
He helps us all out in our like personal
Really?
situations a lot, actually. Just
Yeah.
you get the odd call from him, just
Yeah.
he kind of just sees how you're getting on and stuff. He's really.
He's a boss
it's really-
first, friend second, probably an entertainer third.
Yeah,
That's
he
a quote from The
kind
Office.
He kind of like drove. He kind of like. It was like last week. I was having a bad time. He sort of drove around. I don't have a mobile phone, so I'm kind of get a hold of him. He sort of drove around Portswood in a taxi just to sort of try and find me.
Really?
And sort of take me home because he was
Yeah.
because he's a great guy.
Oh,
And
that's
that's the
lovely.
definition of going beyond the protocol.
Yeah,
I thought that's
yeah,
quite rare.
definitely.
I
To
had
have
some
that.
trouble with an ex-girlfriend who was
completely mental.
She was completely batshit crazy, and she after we split up, I was getting a lot of shit online from her, sort of semi-trolling, and the band was getting a lot of stuff as well.
Really?
The Danishman, he was really supportive with all of that. He didn't need to do any of that. He kind of sorted it out for me, and I was freaking out at the time.
Yeah, whenever we get, because we've had that, I think like twice before. We've had crazy exes sort of trolling the band page, but you just know what it is. Whenever we get anything like that, all the fingers point to either me or him. It's never
Yeah.
anyone else. Is it?
Yeah.
It's like you get some comments saying, "Oh yeah, like these boys are wankers" or something. And they're
Yeah.
like, right, Charlie or Louis, what have you done? We're like,
Hold on, it could be any of us.
Could be any of us. But then come to
You're
think of
happy
it,
in your relationships.
come to think of it, both times it's been me and you, isn't it? Getting trolled. It's like the worst way to deal with it.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a band that's just starting out? Like, get their foot in the door. Like,
Give up.
give.
Just don't.
You must
don't bother.
remember, listeners, that almost everything is tongue in cheek.
No, obviously, don't give up. Never give up.
So inspirational.
I'm going to give a proper answer, and that is, whenever things have looked I sound like I'm sort of speaking from some sort of position of power.
Go
We
on.
are not in a position of power. We're starting out still,
Yeah.
right? But we're maybe one step in about 20 steps. But whenever we've sort of faced diversity or like things that have been quite troubling, we've always thought, well, what can we do to fix this? Let's have a band practice and get really good at our songs and play. And that's always the
the
most
only thing.
important thing.
Yeah.
It's always
just practice
always
more.
play really, really, really well, and practice more and write more
The rest will
and hang
follow.
out together more.
Right. Okay. This last question. So,
Shoot.
what are your plans for the future? Obviously, you mentioned the Abbey Road recordings. When's that going to be?
I think
Soon.
like short-term plans is like that we're gonna. So we recorded obviously 4 tunes. We're gonna release them as singles, I think,
Okay.
and they're just gonna. That'll be the next. That's
Yeah.
short-term, isn't
We're
it?
going to release them incrementally, and then after the sort of official signing, they're going to have a bit of a push behind them.
And I think
Try
there's
and
like
get
a
those
budget.
onto
Then
some
there's a
good
budget for an
playlist.
album. I think after that.
Stunning.
Long-term,
Stunning.
long-term
Yeah.
album, short-term singles, which is how
4
it's done.
singles.
You don't want to make an album too early.
Do
They're
18
not
months
ready.
of singles, piss everyone off, and then get number 3 in the charts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's it. And then
In terms of,
go up and down the country.
yeah,
a
in
little
terms of
bit and
gigs.
kind of go sort of play some more gigs up
Up and
further
down the
north
country a
just try
couple
and-
of times would be nice, wouldn't it?
There's no quick fix to this. You
No.
can't sort of say that we're going to be really successful overnight. We're going to have to go up and down the country a few times and really start building up our audience, for use of a better word, organically.
Right. Well, cheers, guys. Tell our audience where they can find you on social media.
The Dead Freights, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Yeah.
There's a
Right.
bit on YouTube. There's our video
Yeah.
on YouTube. We made a video.
Yeah.
That's up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And we're on
All the stuff that's on there as well, the videos and that, we made those ourselves.
Yeah.
That's all in house.
all in house.
Comes through.
Lovely job.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. I've been Ollie.
I've been Emily.
And I'm the gay.
And this is Charlie.
And that's Louis.
Toodles.
Toodles.
you.
Goodbye.
Thanks, guys.